That's what you all should do. Well, what we're going to do now, so that all that discomfort in the room just goes away, is talk about Nikola Jokic. Because he definitely, absolutely made
the Joker.
Everybody, to me, he made the country feel comfortable about who he is and what he brings to the table. But he certainly made the Lakers feel uncomfortable, put on an absolute clinic last night. And I got to say this. Anthony Davis low-key put on the clinic too now.
Yes.
In a losing effort, because Anthony Davis did just what the Lakers needed him to do, which is, hey, we're going to put Rui Hachimura on Nikola Jokic, especially late, right? And AD, we're going to ask you, we're going to switch you to any and everybody. And no assignment was too big or too small for him. So him getting 40 and 10, his double-double, 3 steals, that really, even maybe more so than what LeBron was able to do, put them in the position where they came back from a 21-point deficit to just being down 3 points before, of course, the Joker takes over. Speaking of that, my God, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was the most unbelievable 34 points ever, because he was just shooting from wherever, 21 rebounds. He was everywhere, and 14 assists. And that's important, Jarvis, because there were so many times where he could have just gotten his. Like, he could have 50 last night, but he chose to distribute the ball. The importance of that is when the game gets tight down the stretch, your team already knows that you trust in them. And he even made a comment post-game, by the way, where he said, when Lisa Salters asked him about how he felt about that comeback, and he was like, yeah, we weathered the storm. We're a good team. They're a good team. But we also have to trust ourselves. We can't play hero ball. Now, why am I going on and on about that, Jarvis? Because who I wanted to talk about, who seemingly did not tap into his basketball IQ, which is my favorite term, because that's what should always dictate your play in crunch situations, is Mike Malone. I thought it got so bad to the point where I was like, well, we've talked about Darvin Ham and how good he is at being able to make halftime or in-game adjustments, right? It was so bad until I said to myself, I almost switched my picks. You and I made picks on Sports Extra. You went Classic, Lakers Celtics. I went Nuggets Celtics. I almost switched it up because Mike Malone, Jarvis, better figure it out. Better figure it out fast. If not for a couple of key defensive plays and then making free throws down the stretch, that game would have been squandered. And you let LeBron James win a game 1, he's not losing the series.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because that's why I kind of like, I look at the talent from. That's why I made my pick based off the talent, because I'm not necessarily in love with Mike Malone and Joe Mazzulla. I feel like Joe Mazzulla got exposed in the Hawks series. You know what I mean? So when you think about expecting those guys to make the necessary adjustment, and you got Eric Spoelstra, who's an amazing coach, and we already know that Boston better not come half stepping, or Miami might jump off in their residence as well. So I think that overall though, it's when you get into these series like these, and you have superstars, you have guys that can carry a game and kind of hide your deficiencies, and I think that's what that's what ended up happening last night when it comes to the Denver Nuggets against the Lakers. So for me, I'm looking forward to what type of adjustments that he makes in the game too, because we know that he couldn't figure out how to keep the ball from rolling away from them in that particular game 1. So I'm really interested to see how it ends up turning out for the Nuggets going forward, because like you said, you got LeBron, you have Anthony Davis. LeBron is a coach within himself, and you talk about Darvin Ham as well. He's one of those Bud assistants, and we know how those Bud assistants, they got a pretty good reputation around the league. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out going forward with Malone making those adjustments, because he has a guy though. He got a dude in Joker that just will hide everything. He's just a big old umbrella. He's like, just let me get my let me lean on my umbrella to hide my unnecessary or necessary adjustments.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that Mike Malone is going to have to figure out. Like, I do understand you want your players to play their way out of a lull like they had last night, but I felt like there were 2 opportunities for him to call timeouts and reset before
Yeah.
it ever got to single digits, right?
Right.
Their lead was whittled away. And that's another thing that I feel like Darvin Ham called his timeouts at appropriate times. Yeah, they didn't get the W, but if the game keeps going like this, in terms of that chess match between the coaches and then the chess match between the 2 best players, even if they're not guarding one another, the 2 best players or the 3 best players, you want to throw AD in there. I don't know, Jarvis. We might be having a conversation about me being a turncoat and picking the Lakers because of I keep saying this. But anyway, got another one that I think we both think is going to be a barn burner tonight. Celtics and Heat tee it off. And oh my goodness, that one I'm very intrigued by because I think you hit the nail on the head. There were some things that Joe Mazzulla showed in the Hawks series that said, hey, maybe you're not at that perch yet. And the one guy who can take advantage of it is Eric Spoelstra, the guy on the sidelines, right?
Right.
Jimmy Butler is the guy on the court who can actually take advantage of it. But when I tell you, I'm looking at the stats for Jason Tatum so far this season, right? And Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler, 22.9, almost 23 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. His numbers in every category have gone up slightly. Jason Tatum, numbers, blowing all his numbers out of the water, blowing his 30 points a game out of the water, blowing his nearly 9 rebounds out of the water, and his nearly 5 assists. You want to talk about a player that's playing out of his mind and I think is truly on mission. I think he's going to want to set the stage and send a message tonight. I really, really believe that we're going to see the Jason Tatum show. Not that Jimmy Butler's not going to have a night, but watch Jason Tatum work.
Yeah, JT has been really establishing himself as one of those dudes. And I know people probably saying like, well, Jarvis, we knew Jason Tatum good. No, this been hitting a little different. Like the conversation is different when it comes to Tatum. Like he even after the game, he was talking about, yeah, I'm that dude. Like you don't hear people talk like that. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe LeBron will kind of do it in a roundabout way, in an interview or a post game interview or whatever, but like that. But for him to come out and say that, and then for him to come out and do what he did in Game 7, and I was literally expecting him to do that because when you have the Philadelphia 76ers not take advantage of him going 1 for 14 and allow him to go off in the fourth quarter, that spells all the trouble that you need to know about, because Tatum is a guy that he's not just gonna sit back. Like he's built in the image or the likeness of Kobe Bryant. Like that's his mindset. So when you have a guy like that start talking like that, and then he goes out and performs the next game like he did in that Game 7, like I wholeheartedly understand. I'm not saying he's gonna drop 50, but this dude is gonna be locked in tonight against the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I believe so too. And yeah, Jason Tatum is so bad that he literally he took somebody's job, Doc Rivers. And so, you look at what he's been able to do. And yeah, I believe, like you said, all of us knew he was very good, if not great, but the greatness has been on display consistently. And also Jaylen Brown, I still say he was the most consistent player. May not have been the best player in the last series, but was by far the most consistent. And even in the Hawks series, he was the most consistent player. So expect him, if he stays consistent, then yeah, it's going to be a long series for the Heat. I still believe it's a 7-game series, but we'll see. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting is this, when you are a champion or when you have a dynasty going, even when things have moved on, there's still going to be commentary and thoughts about what happened. And that's what we see with the Golden State Warriors. Very interesting and compelling comments that have come out of their camp recently from both Steve Kerr and Draymond Green, where Steve acknowledges, yeah, there were some chemistry issues that date back to training camp when Draymond Green sucker punched Jordan Poole, and the team as a whole never got past it. Draymond Green said he knew the minute he punched that guy in the face that it was the worst thing ever, and it took months before he could even speak freely because he knew how much he'd impacted the game. And it just really made me think, okay, you did this in 2016. That's exactly how a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals turns into LeBron James bringing the Cavaliers their first championship, bring the city of Cleveland their first NBA ring. So I just wonder about that, Jarvis. They're looking at the possibility of who are you going to bring back? Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, etc. But does that kind of thing make you look at it and say, Is it time to kind of end this for Draymond Green? Is this the end of our run because you're never really going to be able to rebuild this team to be the great one it was last year and in the initial run? Or as a former athlete, do you have an experience where it's like, yeah, it derails you a little bit, but you can eventually get back on track?
Absolutely not. Like, there's no way, there's no repairing this because guess what? Mr. Poole, Ron Johnson from Different World. Like, check him out. Check out a picture. That man looks just like Ron Johnson T. So he's under contract for the next few years. So he's not going anywhere. And Draymond Green, he's getting up there in age. Like, he had one game where he kind of looked like his old self in that series. So like, you have to understand, like, especially when you have incidents like a fight, right? Because there was one time I was playing on a team and we were bad, and it just came to a head. All the frustration that we had, it just built up over the season. Then it came to a head when we were playing up in Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Podunk, Pennsylvania. Yeah, we were up there, and something just popped off, and then next thing you know. Like, I'm giving the middle finger salute, as I'm walking off the field because I just got to fighting with, the opposing team. So, and it just spiraled after that. Like, it just went all downhill. I think we probably didn't even win a game for the rest of the season because those things like that, when they happen, like, I know people try to say, oh, it's all good, they're professionals. No, man, they still human beings though. Like, Jordan Poole, I promise you, that dude still thinking about that every time he saw Draymond. He ain't, because guess what? It was all on social media. Everybody was talking all that trash. Like, man, you gonna let him punch you like that? You gonna let him punk you like that? All that stuff comes up. And if you think we're saying it, they're saying it. People in the locker room are saying that. Certain guys will be able to get away with that. So that locker room dynamic, once that went down, I just knew for a whole fact that more than likely, like, with the diminishing returns on a talent level and Clay and Dre, like, and then this whole incident, I just knew that it was more than likely those guys weren't going to be able to pull this off again. That was the last hurrah.
I feel like it was as well. And granted, I know people said that 6 years ago, and then last year they shocked the world and won 5 years, removed from the dynasty. But I still say it just feels like, I don't know if you can bounce back from this one. But hey, everydayers, what do you guys say? Yeah. I mean, do you think it's a situation where possibly the Warriors can retool things, whether they retool it by finding a way to offload Jordan Poole in his contract, or is it a day where they say, Draymond, that might have been the last straw? Interesting to hear what you guys say. And you can even relate it to the Hawks and how we've seen some of the chemistry challenges they've had and how that's played itself out onto the court. Whatever you do, we just want you to comment because that means you are watching. We appreciate you. So don't forget to keep watching ATL Day Ones on YouTube, and don't forget to download us wherever you get your podcast. Everydayers, we always appreciate you.